nice to see some of your faces here on the screen with us. And I have to say, it's really nice for me to not be wearing a mask like I was during orientation. So it's a lot easier to breathe here in my office. So I wanted to take this opportunity to give everybody an overview of the office, who we are here at the Career and Professional Development Center, and just provide you with some of the nuts and bolts that you're going to need to know in order to make the best possible use of what we have to offer here, which is quite a bit. So I know that I met many of you at the orientation, but I will say my name is Mary Walsh Fitzpatrick, and I'm the Assistant Dean of the Career and Professional Development Center here at the law school. I'm just going to take a couple of minutes to go around and introduce the other members of the staff. So Joanne Casey, I'm going to give a little wave. Joanne Casey is the director of the Career and Professional Development Center and one of our career counselors here in the office. Colleen O'Byrne, up there in the right-hand corner. Colleen is the associate director of the Career and Professional Development Center and also a career counselor here in the office. Meg Wager is our assistant director for employer relations, and she does all of our recruiting programs, coordinates them with Lima Hawk, who is our career assistant and helps with everything under the sun. So having introduced all of our staff members, I'm going to share my screen here and go over some of the nuts and bolts, and then I'll give you all some time at the end to ask any questions that you may have. Bear with me. Okay, hopefully you can all see that. And I'm just going to minimize. So if you haven't already noticed, the Career Center is located in the 2000 building. We are on the ground floor, right in the breezeway. And right now, the office is open. Our business hours are open we're open from 8:30 to 4:30. We do require that you use your ID swipe card to enter into the office suite, more so for the purpose of contact tracing right now than anything else. And we also ask that if you want to meet with your career counselor in person, send us an email so that we can make sure that your counselor is available during the time that you want to come into the office. We'll also review today how to make an appointment to meet with your career counselor using Albany Law Link. But I want to mention here that all of the appointments that are made through Albany Law Link will be presumed to be virtual appointments. Okay, so for today, I want to provide you with an overview of Albany Law Link, which is the platform that we use for pretty much everything at the Career and Professional Development Center. It's different from Canvas, it's different from the portal, and it's where you're going to be able to make the appointment with your career counselor, as well as sign up for events and programs that you may want to attend. I'm also going to review the individual career plan. I won't go through the plan itself, but I want to introduce you to it and give you a little bit of information about why we use it and how we find it to be helpful. And then I'm going to leave you with some next steps and what to expect over the next few weeks and through the fall semester, so that you'll have an idea of what to look forward to and how to best prioritize your time. Okay, so Albany Law Link is actually powered by a third-party vendor called Simplicity, okay? And so you can connect to Albany Law Link in a few different ways, but I find that the easiest way is to go on to the Albany Law School website and click on Careers from the home page, and then connect to Albany Law Link. That will take you to this page, okay? So when you get to this page, I would suggest that you bookmark it. It'll just make it easier to find. And in the next day, probably tomorrow morning, you'll be receiving an email from this email address, lawalbany@csm.simplicity.com. Please make sure that you look in your clutter. Sometimes we find that the email from the system lands up there. This email will include your username and directions for how to set your password and sign into Albany Law Link. I believe there's also a free mobile app that's called Careers by Simplicity, and you can look for that as well if it's easier for you to find it and use it on your phone. All right, so once you receive your email from the system and you set up your password following the instructions, you're going to be able to sign in to Albany Law Link, and this is what your home page is going to look like. So you'll notice here that I'm logged in as Meg Wager, our test student, but for your purposes, on the left-hand side, you see a menu, right? And so I just want to review what each of these things leads you to and how to best use the site. So on the top, you'll see a tab that says non-OCR jobs. What that really means is non-on-campus recruiting jobs. In other words, it is where any employer looking for a student from Albany Law School can post their opening. This includes internships, postgraduate jobs, and actually our field placement office will eventually post all of the field placements there as well. So that's probably for right now, the most important tab that you're going to look under as you begin later on this semester and spring semester looking for your summer internship. The second tab is the My Profile tab. That's a really important tab as well, because the more information that you put into your profile, including geographic preferences, any kind of subject matter preferences, if you know them. If you don't, that's fine. The more that we have available to us in order to search for students who might be looking for certain positions. Under My Documents is where you are eventually going to upload your resume. I say eventually because it takes a few steps before we get your resume into the kind of document that we want and hope that you'll share with employers. In the first instance, I will share with you in a little bit some places where you can find a sample legal resume. And we're going to ask that you follow the sample and that you attend a workshop on creating the best legal resume that you can and have it reviewed by your career counselor before you upload it, okay? In addition to your resume, you're also eventually going to upload your transcript into the My Documents file, and then any cover letters that you'll eventually need for applying for internships and jobs. Underneath My Documents, you see the information sessions and events. That is the place where you will RSVP for many of our, maybe all of our information sessions and career education events. I should point out that although this is not current because this is a snapshot of the page from last week, you'll notice here that there was a virtual information session with U.S. Army JAG Corps. And that's an example of where these types of information sessions will be broadcast and the type of session that you can RSVP for and attend. Underneath that, you'll see on-campus recruiting and New York City interview program. Just ignore that for now. We will have a separate session on on-campus recruiting. For those of you who are incoming JD students, first year JD students, you probably won't participate in an on-campus program until next February. Underneath that, you'll see experiential learning, and that's where you can add information based upon your field placements, eventually perhaps building a portfolio. And then underneath that is my counseling appointments that will sync to your Google Calendar if you choose to do that. And then I'm just going to skip to, because employers and surveys you don't need to make use of just yet. The resources tab has many different resources along with sample resumes, sample cover letters, and then counseling and calendar is where you are going to make your first appointment with your career counselor. All right, and now I bet you're wondering, how do I figure out who my career counselor is? Okay, so when you go into My Account, which is the last tab down here, you'll find underneath your contacts, oops, I went too far, sorry about that. Underneath your contacts, you'll find the name of your career counselor, your assigned career counselor. And then when you click on counseling and calendar, you'll be able to search for your counselor's availability and sign up for an appointment. Okay, I should mention that we assign career counselors because what we find is that when we have the longevity of a relationship with a student, it allows us to really get to know what the student wants to do. And that changes frankly with sometimes each semester. So having that continuity allows us to help counsel you better. But there is no requirement that you have to stay with your assigned career counselor. I would just ask that if you are seeking to change, that you send a written request to me indicating that you'd like to switch. It doesn't often happen, I have to say. Usually you stay with the career counselor you begin your relationship with. All right, so a little bit about counseling. We like to start each counseling relationship with an individual career plan. So when you get your welcome email tomorrow morning that indicates how to log into Albany Law Link, you're also going to get attached to that email an individual career plan. The career plan is really simple, and it outlines a framework that allows you to identify your individual values, which we talked about a little bit at orientation, the importance of doing that. It allows you to reflect upon your goals, to think about short-term and long-term goals while you're here in the program, whether it be your master's program or JD program or LLM program. And then it allows you to evaluate the skills and characteristics that are unique to you and that you hope to use in your future career. And we ask that you complete this and go through the process, even if you don't know all of the answers, before your first meeting with your career counselor, because it gives us the opportunity to fully understand all of the many factors that are going to weigh into what you decide to do, and to be able to talk about that and those factors during our first meeting. So we ask that you email your individual career plan to your career counselor before your first meeting, giving your counselor time to review it and counsel you accordingly. Okay, the second thing that you are going to take a stab at before you meet with your career counselor is your legal resume. For JD students and MSLS students, our master students who are interested in law and policy, and LLM students, you should reformat your resume following the samples on Albany Law Link. So when you log into Albany Law Link, on the right side of your screen, you will see resources that include many different types of sample resumes. as an entering JD student, I would start with the 1L sample resume. And you follow the format pretty closely. And then on September 15th, we'll have a resume and cover letter workshop that will allow you to refine your resume even further based upon suggestions that we give you during that time. All right. And then you can either send your resume to your career counselor before your first appointment, or you can bring it with you to your either virtual appointment or in-person appointment. And after your career counselor has given you feedback and you've went back and forth on the feedback and adopted a final version, that's when you'll be given the right to upload your finalized resume to Albany Law Link, and we can be sure that you're getting to apply with the best documents possible. Okay, so before I stop to take questions, I want to just review and talk about the next steps. So you're going to look for your welcome email and your login to Albany Law Link to be sent to you tomorrow morning. Remember, it's going to come from that email address that has CSM in it. That's our third-party vendor, Simplicity. You're going to complete your Albany Law Link profile, and I would also suggest that underneath the academic part of the profile that you add your academic counselor. I believe that you can find the name of your academic counselor on the Albany Law School portal. You are going to think about your individual career plan and complete it to the extent that you can before your meeting. You'll have the opportunity to review sample resumes and begin to think about revising your resume to match those. Please attend the resume and cover letter program on September 15th at 4 p.m. We will send a reminder out. And then in the following week, we're going to do a program on resources for finding your summer internship. Okay, so you're going to be really well prepared to look for a summer internship before you even have your first appointment with your career counselor. And so just a word about that, what you're going to notice is that we're going to first begin meeting with our students, our new students, after October 15th. And the reason why we do that is because we don't want to add extra pressure to what you're working on right now, which is really assimilating into the law school experience and staying current with your readings and outlines. We know from experience that this timeline works. It makes a lot of sense. And so you have time to sort of work on these few items and then meet with your career counselor after October 15th. And I should say here, it's absolutely fine if you don't meet with your career counselor until after the new year. It is totally fine. Most internships for entering first-year law students do not have application periods that start until next semester anyway. Okay, and then the last item is feel free to attend our employer information sessions and career education sessions as your schedule permits. These are not required, but there's really super opportunities to learn about potential employers and also practice areas. All right, so with that, we stop sharing and see if we have any questions. I will take a look at the chat and then feel free to unmute yourselves. Okay, great. Colleen already answered it. Yep. Awesome. So tomorrow you'll get the email. You'll be able to log into Albany Law Link and you'll be off and running. You'll have so many good resources. You'll be ready for your first career counseling appointment. Any question on anything that I reviewed? Good. It's simple, right? Straightforward. All right. So don't stress out. Focus on your work. Focus on your schoolwork right now. getting used to law school, getting used to virtual law school, in-person law school with masks. And if you have questions or concerns, feel free to email your career counselor. You'll know who that is tomorrow. And in the meantime, of course, feel free to email me. Okay.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.